Hello and welcome to another episode of the 4Tims in a podcast. It's the day after Celtic bowed out of Europe after a quite upsetting 5-1 defeat in aggregate to Norwegian champions Bodo. Tonight it's myself, Andy and Darren, and Darren, I'll come to you first. The first leg wasn't great, and within 10 minutes of the second leg it went the same way.
Aye, as you say, I think a lot of people had sort of resigned themselves to the tie being over, and when Ange made about 5 or 6 changes to the team, and you had players like Cal McGregor, Jota, Abada, and a few others on the bench, you were sort of wondering whether Ange sort of thought it was there as well and was prioritising the Hibs game. But it was very, for a game that I'd pretty much accepted, or a tie that I'd accepted that we were going to lose last week after Thursday night. I was still somehow disappointed. I thought the team really let themselves down. I thought the first half especially, I thought the defence, every one of them was absolutely shocking. I think Joe Hart made a few good saves. I thought his distribution was absolutely shocking last night, and we'll give Joe Hart a lot of praise this year, so I think it's just right to note when he doesn't have a great game, but I don't think he was helped by the four in front of him. You had like Ralston and Scales at the fullback positions. I thought both of them were terrible. Scales probably more so. Just I thought that he was pretty poor and sort of stood out. I thought I feel bad for him because I think he was brought here under like winning a Dermot Desmond raffle or a lottery or whatever, but he does seem to stick out more often than not, I think, and not for the right reasons. And the two at centre half were really poor as well. I thought Starfelt, it was yet again, I've spoken about Joe Hart's distribution. I thought Starfelt again was pretty poor on the ball, and Stephen Welsh, another one who I know we've often spoke about him having a bit of a glass ceiling, and the only thing I can sort of take is hopefully it does sort of get into the notion that some people have about like Juranovic been better than Ralston, and I think like, I know Taylor didn't have a great game in the first leg, but I think you could clearly see that he's a better player than Liam Scales, and even the likes of Welsh, who's another one who the longer he's at the team he seems to get better. But the performance was pretty poor. I thought the midfield it was Vitor O'Reilly and Rogic, and two of them didn't perform last week, and I thought again O'Reilly and Rogic didn't do himself any favours. Matt O'Reilly sort of stood out. I know he's very new to the club and this is his first taste of European football, but I thought he was pretty poor and didn't really they didn't help the team. And I know a few people had a bit of a problem with McGregor and Abada getting brought on at half time when the tie was all but dead, when we were already 1-0 down and 4-1 down in aggregate. But I thought that was sort of it really said it all about how the midfield had performed. I think there's a difference between sending a team out that you're sort of have one eye on Sunday, but I feel that the team were really letting themselves down, and it was a bit of professional pride from Ange. I thought that he felt that he had to look to guys like Abada and Callum McGregor because he didn't want to end up an absolute scalping, and over the 2 legs it was a scalping, but I think if we'd have kept going the way we were, it could have been much worse. And the front three, I'm not going to repeat myself, but James Forrest, I think his time at Celtic should be very close to being finished. I think he was pretty poor. He seems to hide again from the ball. Jackie Marcus had next to nothing in terms of service. I know he drops back to try and get himself in a game, but I don't think he had much impact. And Maeda is one who first half was probably our best player. He runs and chases everything, and that's sort of a minimum you expect from players. But yeah, I thought he was poor in the second half. Like he had an absolutely golden chance to bring his level on the night and give us a wee bit of hope, but he blazed it well over. And as much as we've had a few sort of nights in Europe this season where we've performed pretty well, and especially your nights against Betis and Leverkusen and probably the Alkmaar home game as well, I'm pretty disappointed with the way Europe's went, but I'm sure we'll look back on it as a whole, Danny. But that was my thoughts on last night's performance.
I think most of what you say is what I would agree with. I think most of the team let themselves down last night. I thought Joe Hart as a goalkeeper was brilliant, but as a football player he was quite poor. He's distributing the back four I thought were terrible. Starfelt just looks... He does this more often than no. He just looks completely lost, and the way he keeps the ball, the passes that he plays, He reminds me of Neil Lennon in a lot, and no thinking Neil Lennon, but there's a lot of times where Lennon would maybe give the ball to somebody. Starfield does it every week, but he gives the ball to somebody who's got 2 or 3 men around him, and it's just a kind of, well, I'm not going to give it away, so you give it away. About him, but Ralston was really poor. He seemed to get lost. The left winger had him in toe. Scales just did a complete nightmare of a game. I thought he toiled from start to finish. I know Greg Taylor isn't everybody's cup of tea. We definitely need to improve at left back, Andy, but I just thought the whole team, I thought O'Reilly was like a fish out of water in that game, and like the tie. I thought he struggled. I thought he played well in the first half against Bodo. I thought he was playing Bodo on his end at one point, but I thought last night it was like a fish out of water. I thought Maeda was probably my best player. And I know, Darren, you say that the minimum is that they'll press and chase and that, but see when nobody else is doing it, it sticks out a wee bit more at the one that is. And I agree with before. I thought Beaton had a complete shambles of a game from start to finish, and Beaton follows that Celtic career timeline of looking really good for a couple of weeks and then going and being really, really bad. And just the only surprise was they never get himself sent off last night. And I agree with McGregor and Abada. I thought would have says why are you risking them on a plastic pitch, but I thought we were a lot better in the second half, and we took the game to them a wee bit more. We got a couple of corners at least that we didn't get in the first half, and you say that chance with Maeda, if he scores that, you never know. We could maybe score another goal, force a kind of nervy finish, but we just never really looked up to it the whole tie, Andy. And I think that's what I'm more disappointed about. I'm no losing sleep about going out of Europe in this Europa League conference. It would have been nice to get a good wee run on it, of course it would have. But for me, it's all about winning the league. But it's just the manner they went out. Know that we lost 5-1 because, Leverkusen took 4 off us at Parkhead, and I thought, what brilliant. It's not the scoreline, it's just the manner, the way we went out. These are winnable games. Bodo were obviously very capable, they're a good team, but they were there to be got at. 4 times we won the ball, 20 yards out for goal in the first half last night, and every single time the ball get played back. I think once it get played back to Beaton, and within 5 seconds Bodo had a corner. It's just, they just seem to kind of just capitulate, and maybe with the team selection the tie was done, Andy, but surely maybe no go through. We've not got a divine right to win every game, but surely we've got a right to expect a better pair of performances than what we got in this tie.
I mean, I think there's a lot of truth in what you say. I think one of the things that sticks out is it's not a feeling that we're unfamiliar with. Getting out to a sort of side like that and either a knockout or a playoff tie, we've seen it a million and one times. We spoke about these ties before the game. There's Copenhagen's and AEK's and all the rest of it. Like we've spoken about a similar feeling, and I think it's all, like you say, Bodo are obviously a very, very capable team. There's a lot of good players in their team. They play really good football. They go about their business very well. But again, it's not as if you're turning up to play fucking fine Barcelona. Do you know what I mean? That there's a right to expect a certain standard of performance for the players and for the team. And I think that's probably what it hurts. But I mean, don't get me wrong, I've still coming out of it as sort of disillusioned and disheartened as I did against games like Copenhagen and Cluj and things like that. I'm no in the same frame of mind because I think we're still so early in the sort of Ange era. There's still so much development to be done. It's no that's the fear for me. Now a lot of it's just, like you say, like you take obviously the game last night, for example, you're looking at players like Forrest and Welsh and Scales and even Ralston to an extent now, that you're looking to them to say, right, now's your chance to sort of step up again. Obviously Abada sort of made that right hand side position his own. There was, I couldn't believe him at the time, but the cries I was hearing for Liam Scales to play over Greg Taylor every week was beyond me, because Liam Scales is not a very good football player. I mean, Greg Taylor's not the messiah, but he's a better player, he's a better defender. Juranovic has obviously pushed Ralston out, who's by his early season standards hasn't quite been the same player that he was when all the pressure was on him. But I mean, I hope he sort of turns that around again and finds his early season form. I thought he was poor against Bodo. wasn't great against. Is it Wraith? If I'm remembering rightly, it was poor. Wasn't great there. It just didn't feel like the same player early on. Welsh, he's obviously already covered him, but I mean, I'm no massive lover of him. I've always thought his ceiling was fairly low, but again, another one that was cries out for to be played and to be starting, and he's better than Starfelt and all the rest of it. And again, Starfelt didn't cover himself in a lot of glory, but it's clear to me that he's a better footballer or a better defender than Welsh is. But I mean, it's even again, it gives opportunity for somebody like Julian coming back to he'll get his chance. But we were poor, really, really poor. Rogic and O'Reilly were anonymous, and it's strange because they're usually so good at keeping the ball and travelling with the ball and making things happen, but they were just poor. I think it said a lot because we go in at half time there. They're 1-0 up. Could have been 2 at half time, but they're 1-0 up at half time. Puts them 4-1 in aggregate. I mean, let's be honest, we all knew the game was done at that point. Manager knew the game was done, but he still felt the need to bring on 2 players who are going to be starting. Well, McGregor's obviously going to be starting unless an injury, but Abada, you would assume so, is going to be starting at the weekend. He's not done that to try and save the tie or salvage the tie. He's done that because, I think it was you who said it, Danny, he's 3 or 4 fucking doing on the night, which would have been entirely possible because we were playing that poorly at times. It felt as if every time they got into a transition or a counter, we really could have conceded. We were lost. We were isolated. Even the pace across the back line was just severely lacking. To be fair, the whole back 4 and the middle 3, there wasn't really any pace there at all. It felt like that was just very much right. Let's just try and no make an arse of ourselves here, and do too much sort of mental damage to the players. And then again, sort of broke McCarthy on just for a striker at that point. Again, that's just after the goal. Right, don't concede again. Don't take it down. Because you got away, you lose 2-0. It is what it is. You go on with it. So it wasn't great. We weren't great. Disappointed, gutted. I thought the same as yourselves. It was a competition I was hoping to see us go a wee running. But again, it's getting to where we were in this sort of the start of the season to now getting in this position fills me with a lot of hope going forward. Hopefully players learn something for the game, hopefully the manager learns something about certain players in the team, and there'll be sort of things to take away for it. Could have been slightly different if a chance is taken here or there across both ties really, but I'm not disheartened by it, Danny. I'm not going to let it sort of going to dwell on it too much. I think we just need to look to the weekend now, go away, go to Easter Road, win the game, get right back on track. Hopefully players like Juranovic, Jota, I mean, I know McGregor played 45, but hopefully they're coming back with a sort of a wee bit of life. Hattati, a wee rest has done them a bit of good. I know they travelled, but hopefully they all come back with a bounce. The team bounces back, because ultimately, if we go get the 3 points, put in a really good performance, Europe's forgotten about. We're not going to be dwelling on it, and we can sort of charge on with the remainder of the season.
No, I think you're right. I think we've got bigger fish to fry this season. We know that, but I just think it's such a missed opportunity. I can't remember the last time we won a tie. Obviously, it's been a long time since we won a tie after Christmas. But if you take out Alkmaar this year, we've not really. It's been a long time. Maybe Dynamo Moscow under Mowbray. Well, we lost a tie that should have went either way. I mean, it could have went either way. I mean, ties that we have won, and then I might be missing one, so feel free to butt in and tell me. But maybe Dynamo Moscow since Mowbray's day was the last time you kind of won a tie that you think, this is kind of 50-50. Dan, obviously, I mean, that's Europe done for a year. It's been a lot of rubbish going about that with the first team to get 3 European trophies in one season, which is nonsense. But how would you sum up Andrew's first crack at Europe? I'll let you go first, but what I would say is I don't know what the Champions League against them, but how would you describe his first venture into Europe as a Celtic manager?
ultimately, I think it's disappointing, but I think that the context is sort of key when I put that message across. Like, obviously, the Champions League, you run into Midtjylland, and I know Midtjylland won the great, and look, we started brilliant that night. That was the night that Abada made his debut and got on the score sheet, and then a moment of madness for Beaton after he's fouled and he decides to go and slap somebody in the face. Like, I think that probably cost us that tie. And then, I don't know, we go away from home and Cal McGregor scores a great goal that'll probably be forgotten now. But like, I think that was the kind of game, and I think it was you that used to coin the phrase, it sort of came too soon for Andrew's team. I think a few more weeks down the line, we would have got by that. So obviously, if you look at the Champions League, it's got to be seen as a disappointment, and one that did just come too soon for Andrew's team. Europa League is another one that I think has to be seen as a disappointment. Like, I think we got a really tough group, and we played well in parts against Betis and Leverkusen, who are obviously two good teams from good leagues who you're sort of expecting. Like, I think when I look back on the Europa League group, it's sort of, I think Celtic performed well in spells, but they finished exactly where you would sort of expect them to, in third place. And I know we had the win over Betis in the last game, but it was a change side. I know we had changed side as well, but we finished above Ferencváros, which you would expect most seasons for Celtic. So I think Europa League is one that is. I don't know if my expectations were just a wee bit heightened after what we'd done in the Europa League. I know Lennon's last season obviously wasn't great, but the season before that, when he took it to like Rennes and Lazio, so in like recent memory, it was disappointing. And then the Conference League is, again, it's the one thing that really annoyed me is that, like, it's no slight on Bodo, because we've seen it often enough with these sort of teams who have smaller budgets than us and are just better set up and further down their journey in terms of like having a football identity. But it is just a massive opportunity missed, and I don't think we have any excuse, which is the biggest disappointment for me for the Bodo game, because we were in fantastic form. We'd got players back, and obviously Kyogo and Turnbull were missing, who are players who had played an important part. But I think, again, if I speak about context, I think it's sort of like us losing these sort of knockout ties. It sort of transcends Ange. It's not just something that's happened since Ange is here. It's like going to be 18 years now since we won a knockout tie past Christmas, and that's unacceptable. And I think it's probably mainly down to guys like Dermot Desmond and Peter Lawwell, who have sort of downsized Celtic for that period of time. So I think, as Winnie said there, I hope Andrew's learned stuff, because I think it's all right saying that the league's their focus and it's what we need, but if we do win the league, we're going to go in the Champions League in about 6 months' time, and like it's probably going to be the guts of this team that are going to be there. So it's all right saying that we've got our eyes in the league. I think the team, if they turn up like they have this season in Europe and the Champions League next season, are going to be found very much wanting, I would say, Danny. But I don't know about you.
I think the results wise, obviously, there's been more negatives and positives. I think performance wise, it's not been that bad. I think Midtjylland, you give Ange another 2 weeks and he wins that tie. There's no doubt in my mind. Now, we'd have ran into PSV, who probably would have put us out, but we would have beat Midtjylland. I've got no doubt about that, actually. It was just 2 weeks too early, and then we get the squad together. It was a really good performance to beat Alkmaar. It was a very, very good performance to do that. Europa League, we were with 9 points. I mean, you consider yourself unlucky. I mean, Rory Hamilton was falling out of himself to tell us how unlucky Dortmund were to get the Champions League with 9 points, whereas, we went out of the Europa League with 9, but it was embarrassing for us. Europa League is just about missed opportunities. We should have got at least, you go 2-0 up at best. When Celtic go 2-0 up, they should win the game 99 times out of 100. For too long now in Europe, we've not even been getting draws when we're going 2-0 up. We should at least get a draw with Betis. We should have beat Betis. Leverkusen at home was an anomaly. They were very, very good. We played well. Their keeper had a great game. Ferencváros, we took 6 off her. Thought we played really well in Ferencváros. The last 20 minutes were a wee bit scary. But Leverkusen away, really good, mature performance. We're doing a goal early like Celtic always do. Fought back, got ourselves back into the game, then took the lead, and then we looked really composed. And I thought, this is really good. And then obviously the collapse, which we've all seen coming. You lose a goal and then you lose one a minute later. It just happens to Celtic. And then best, as you say, was a kind of rubber game, but we went and won it. Still need to go and beat these teams. These Spanish teams are full of quality, and they didn't turn up to Parkhead to get beat. So Europa League I thought was positive. If not a wee bit naive, something that we'd need to sort out. But the conference has kind of brought us all back down to earth. It's kind of like the Copenhagen game a couple of years ago when we were so good in the group stages to get through, and then basically fucking threw it away against Copenhagen. But I think going forward, Andy, it's not the results that we'd have wanted, of course, but it is a foundation for Ange to build on. And he'll know, surely he's had let's not forget, it's his first experience in European football as well. Surely him and the club will be much better for it next season, hopefully, going straight into the Champions League.
I think you're right. I mean, don't get me wrong, you take even Europe this year, and you look at the players, a lot of them haven't really experienced European competition. I mean, even just take the January signings, like O'Reilly and Maeda, that obviously played. Look, that's experience for them. Kyogo in the group stages. I mean, really, as far as I'm aware, I don't think Jota's played any European football in a European competition other than domestic. Prior to that, Abada, the team's obviously, we brought a lot of bodies in who, for their first time experiencing it as well. Do you know what I mean? It's not as if we've signed a bunch of big European names. I think Atai, actually, he got minutes against Bodo in the first game. Not much, but it was an experience for him. Cameron Carter-Vickers, another one that's, to my knowledge, not played any European football. There's a lot of learning going to be done by the players, but the big one for me is, like you mentioned, it's the manager and the coaching staff. And I know a lot of staff have been there before, but I think we're operating a different way now. The manager's implemented a lot, doing a lot, but I think he's very much somebody that, while his standards are high, we've seen it, he demands so much for the players. I think he demands a lot for himself, and I think he does. I've just got the faith in him to really build on this. He'll know what's required. I think he's probably seen where the gaps are now. He always strikes me as that type of manager that he'll learn from the mistakes and he'll sort of be happy if we keep continuing to make them. So it does give me confidence. Like, again, I'm not saying it's a good thing we get put out and all the rest of it. I don't really buy into that shite, but I think we've got to take the positives that we can, and I think he'll build on this. It'll be the foundations for us going forward. And again, we've got to look beyond this year. We've got to be a forward-thinking club. We've got to be a forward-planning club. You've got to work off of, right, we're preparing for the Champions League next year, and that's what we're going to be prepared for. I mean, I think that's where we'll be, but that's where we want to be, and that's what you've got to prepare for, and that's what the club's got to prepare for. And I think it's I back the manager to sort of get us in that direction.
Of course, I think he'll be a lot better for his experience this year. Hopefully, he's learned a lot going into next season as well. Of course, the Champions League's a big carrot at the end of the stick that we hope that we're in come next season. Obviously, that's the main thing, is to be in the Champions League, and it's even more experience, it's more money. You can hopefully spend the money wisely so far, so hopefully the board give him more to spend, and we can boost the team. I think the Bodo, especially the first half last night, is kind of maybe not a reality check. I hate people say it's a wake-up call or a reality check. I don't think anybody's really get carried away. Obviously, some people, we want Ralston to play the year and all that, but I think that it just shows that the squad isn't complete yet. But none of us have said that it is anyway. We've kept pretty consistent that the manager's still got positions to add, he's still got personnel to add. We need cover. Basically, still we need cover out the park now. Of course, it's a lot better than it was 5 or 6 weeks ago, but still a long way to go. And I think last night just kind of emphasised that a wee bit. But we'll not dwell too much. We've spent too much talking about this. But big game on Sunday, back to league business, away to Hibs, tough game on paper anyway. Maloney's come in, he's trying to get Hibs to play the football the right way. Well, the way he sees it should be played. Results haven't been great, but they did get a good result last week. Andy, will come back to you first. Do you think that if he tells his team to play like they did at Celtic Park and try and play football, that it will play into our hands, or are you expecting a tougher game this time?
I mean, I don't think there's any doubt in my mind that he's going to tell his team to play and play the game the way he sees it. I think he's very much like the sort of the Ange type manager in the sense that he sees football in the way that he believes it should be played, and he will only be happy and he won't sort of abandon those principles because you don't get the results right away. We've seen many a team that have had to build, and I think their fans will dare say buy into him. I think Maloney will be a success as a manager. I think he's sort of went about it the right way, and I do also believe that will play into our hands. I think it's too early to worry about Hibs trying to go toe with us at any given moment and sort of play football against us. I think it'll likely expose themselves as it did really when we played last time. They'll obviously be trying to do a lot of recruitment and find the right players, find sort of ball playing centre halves and things like that. But it's I'm actually fairly confident getting into the tie, Danny, to be honest with you. I think we will bounce back. I think he's going to have your Juranovic, Carter Vickers back in, probably see Taylor back in, Hatate for the start, McGregor for the start, Abada, Yota. I think there's going to be a team coming back where we spring in their step, and I think the manager will inject that into them. And again, I reckon there'll be space in that park to let us play. In the way that we press, the way we go about our business, you're putting defenders like fucking Paul Hanlon under pressure when he's been told under no circumstances do you just batter the ball at the park. Look, you need to play it for the back and find your teammates and build. Look, I think that will play into our hands. But it's a game I'm actually looking forward to be fair. I'm looking forward to it, Danny, and the day I think it'll be a positive result for us and a good performance.
I think it'll be a good game. Hibs away is always a fixture I look out for in the calendar, more so now that Hibs are kind of my local team now, but I'm looking forward to it. I think it'll be tough. I think the performance there in October was very good. We were building a lot of momentum at that point, and 3-0 up after, was it half an hour, we were playing really, really well, and I'd hope for the same in Mora, Darren. Big choice. Do you think Angela obviously he's going to rig changes? McGregor will be back, Jota will be back, I think Abada will be back. Does he go with Maeda up front, or does he stick with Giakoumakis after his hat-trick last week?
I think he'll stick with Giakoumakis. I think that as I said, he didn't have much impact on last night's game, but I think generally he should be the striker now, and Maeda's. If Maeda plays, I'm not going to be disappointed, but I just think he will go with Giakoumakis for this type of game, and I'm looking forward to it. I think team selection will be very much scrutinised because it's one of the ones that I don't know. It's been a bit weird. I think when Ange makes these sort of changes, there seem to be people who are just ready to go off Ange, and I don't know why it is. I know it doesn't happen very often anymore, but it's something that's happened quite a few times this season, like most notably when he broke Kyogo on against Betis and he got injured. But I mean, that was his only striker on the bench, and I don't want to cover all ground, but it's just that I feel like if we don't win on Sunday, I think there's got to be a lot of people who charge for Ange after he did make the changes. But look, Sunday is the focus. I think it was the focus last night for Ange, and I know he'd never come out and say that we were out of the Bodo tie. I think he pretty much had half an eye on this game, and as you mentioned, one of our best halves of football came against Hibs at Easter Road this season, and if we can replicate anywhere near that, then we'll be hard to beat. Maloney is getting a bit further into his Hibs journey, but I don't know, it's weird. I think the Hibs fans, I know Andrew was talking about they'll buy into him. I don't know if they will. I think he seems to be getting quite a bit of stick off the Hibs fans, and I know when I think he subbed Ewan Henderson last week, or maybe the week before, when they it was last Saturday. I think his subs were getting booed because he was taking like say Ewan Henderson off, but they went on and won the game anyway. But I think that'll be a positive for us. We think Ewan Henderson has been really good for them since he's joined them. So the fact that he'll be missing for Hibs will help us no end. And I think this team won't like sort of dwell on Thursday, and they'll be right focused to get back on top and put pressure on Rangers, because obviously we're the early kick-off on Sunday, so it gives us the chance to go 6 points clear, which seems mental given where we were a few weeks ago. So hopefully we do that, and then it's up to them when they play Motherwell to respond to it. I think that Jota will come back in, Abada, Cal McGregor of course, and probably Rio Hatai. And the defence will sort of revert to the trusted back four. I would expect Greg Taylor to come back in now, and Juranovic, Carter Vickers, and most likely Starfelt. But it's one I'm looking forward to, Danny. I think it's a massive game. I know we had that hoodoo with Hibs for a long time where we didn't manage to win, but thankfully we've played them 3 times this season, and we've beat them 3 times. That's been at home at Easter Road and at Hampden in the cup final. So I feel like expect us to go there and do a professional job and get out of League 4 win.
I am quietly confident myself. Since I think Motherwell was the last game that we'd kind of thrown up with 20 minutes to play, or a game was done a long time before that, but the wins have been coming, but they've been coming in nervily, and I'd like to see us just put a team away for a change, and I think maybe have a chance to do that on Sunday. But it'll be tough. Dan, I'll go back to you for your prediction. What do you think the score will be?
Unfortunately, I think it's going to be another nervy one for us, Danny. I think that I just think we ought to travel we've done and just to sort of run a games that's like Celtic are well incapable of putting a team away, but I think there's every chance that there will be goals in this one. I think both teams will score, and Celtic will get the win, and hope we win by more than 1 goal. But right now I think it might be Celtic 2, Hibs 1, and I think that Jota and Leo Abada will get on the score sheet.
Andy, any advance in 2-1?
I'm actually pretty confident. I think we'll win 3-0. I think the rest is going to sort of prove to pay dividends for Ange, for the players like Tati and Jota and Juranovic. I really think it will. And I just see Hibs, especially because they're at home. I don't see Maloney sort of setting them up any differently than go out there and play football. And play it the right way, the way they've been working on it. I think that will just open themselves up for us to exploit it, because they're really not ready to go toe to toe with us. We're much further along, plus we're just a better team. So I think we'll expose it. I think they'll get found out across the back and things like that, try to play out. And I think 3-0. Scorers, I reckon you ought to be back in the score sheet, and I've got this feeling Juranovic is going to score. Either a free kick or something feel at the edge of the box sort of region, either a free kick or just a shot, but I think he scores and all.
I would take that. I think that's merely the thing I was hoping for when I was talking about putting a team away. I think it'll be nervy myself, Dan. I know I said I want it to be easier, but I think we'll win 2-0, but I think it'll be quite tight. As much as I think Hibs are naive at times playing out for the back, if they are playing well and the Easter Road, the crowd gets behind them, it is awful tough to overcome them. But I think we'll just get there in the end. I think we'll score in the both halves. I think we'll score in the first half, midway through the first half, and I think we'll get a second that will kill the game with 10 minutes to go. And I'm going to go for Giacomakis to get a bay for them. I think he's coming into his own right now. especially in the league. And he took his goals well last week. It's a really good hat-trick, and I think you just got to kick on now. I think in Kyogo's absences, the whole team have stepped up. We have missed Kyogo, but results-wise it would look as if maybe we've no. But of course we have, because he's probably one of our better best players, I would say. But Jack Max has done really well, so I'd expect him to keep it up on Sunday, and we'll win by a couple of goals. Obviously, we'll be back probably Monday night with a reaction for the game. Hopefully Celtic are at least 6 points. Hopefully Celtic are 6 points clear. By that point, maybe even 5 would accept that. But I don't think we're playing next week. After that, we're playing in midweek, aren't we? Home with St Mirren? Or did I just make that up?
Aye, we've got St Mirren at home and then Livy away.
So I mean, Livy away is another big one. We'll probably have an exorcism next Saturday night before that one. But if you've made it this far, thanks very much for all your support. And we'll be back when we're back. And until then, all the best.